What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Lake Julian Disc Golf Course. It's a little bit breezy, but that's fine because we are throwing some putters that are supposed to just kind of not really be affected too much by the wind. We're looking at the 10-year anniversary Berg. This is in their K1 swirl, but since they became a part of House of Discs, this is essentially a Lux Vapor Berg. So of course I had to pick one up and see what all the rage was about with the Berg itself, and we're gonna kind of go along the Berg family tree similar to how we did with the PD, because we have the Berg OS and the Berg SS, the overstable version of the Berg and the understable version of the Berg. But here's where the conspiracy comes in. Berg's not the original. We'll get into it. And when we look at these, the Rhino and the Range both have about the same profile, which is to be expected. They're both 2 speeds. And then we add up the Berg, which I think technically they do call a 1 speed. So it is a touch higher, but the main difference here is that the touch higher that the Berg is on top. So this extra thumb track, the Range has it. The Range has a very Berg style thumb track. The Rhino has a much more angular, almost pig style, but I think the Rhino was before the pig. So this very angular thumb track. The flight plate is about the same height off the bottom of the disc on all 3 of these. There's just more up on top, so there's more of a thumb track to grip on top of for the Berg. Now, this is going to be interesting because I did bring a different Rhino and another Range as well, because this Rhino is starting to become a little bit Berg-like in its flight. It's starting to straighten out, and that's because I've been using this Rhino exclusively. If I'm not filming, I'm using this Rhino as my go-to putting putter and my go-to approach disc. So this Rhino is seeing a lot of use. I've had to re-ink it like 5 times because it wears off over time. And this pink one used to be bright and is starting to fade and is starting to straighten. So we're gonna throw Range. No, we're gonna go in reverse order because, like I said, the Berg isn't the original. In 1998, the Rhino was PDGA approved. So we're gonna start back where PDGA started. Here's the way a Rhino is supposed to fly. Putting them in the middle today. Interesting. So that was 27 years ago. This is the 10-year anniversary disc. It came out this year. This is not that old. So 17 years before the Berg, if you wanted that flight, you had to get a Rhino and then just beat it up so it was straight. Let's see the way a Berg flies. There we go. Straight, reliable fade as soon as you hit a tree. And now, I also forget sometimes that I'm throwing from the shortest pad, so it's actually not that far. And now the range, which is the understable version, if you look at this, it does actually have a parting line a good bit lower down on the edge of the disc. So this one, you can hit it on some hyzer and it should stand up. Got a little stand up out of it. So where does that leave us for the Berg or the range or the Rhino? I bag 2 of those and I don't bag the 3rd. Why is that? For me, 01s, that very straight with a touch of fade is a little bit, it doesn't work for me, because if I throw it on hyzer, it stays on hyzer, it never flips up. If I try to flex it, it never really has the stability to come back. So the Berg is a good disc. I'm just not willing to put in the time to beat one up to become an understable Berg, because I already have a range and a Rhino to do both the ends that the Berg is a little bit lacking in. So I have right here 3, potentially 4 different stabilities of slow thumb track drop out, supposed to be low glide putt and approach discs. We're going to start on the flippier options this time. If I can hold on to them. This is the Proton Soft range. Got a little something on it there. Interesting. From the Champions Cup. And this one, we're going to go forehand. I should be able to, on this one, hit it on a touch of hyzer and it should stand up to pretty straight. Or I crunch it on a lot of hyzer. I need to flatten this out a little bit more. Now we're going to go the Berg. Try to flatten it out. Pretty straight. Now we're going to go my straighter Rhino. A little tail off. Now the stable Rhino. Yeah, I had to flex that one. Back. Well, a brand new flat top Champion Rhino has stability, and Castoplast wants to say that their Berg X is going to be that Rhino style with stability, but they call it a 02 and it's a hair more stable than a Berg. So the Berg X is really not going to be quite as stable as the Rhino, and for reasons of this is going to have a higher than even parting line, and it has the bevel with a bead. So all of those things, the bevel with the bead, the higher parting line, this a little bit sharper, flatter top, just makes it a little bit more stable so you can actually flex it. Which is why for approaching shots, for forehands, for backhands, for those flex lines, I really, really, really lean on the Rhino, because I can just put it exactly where I want it and trust that even if I torque a little bit, if I really crunch it, it'll still hold up to the integrity that sometimes the Berg or the range may not hold up to. And I like the range for basically the exact opposite reason as the Rhino. While the Rhino is that it doesn't really matter what the wind is, I can have a torque resistant approach disc that even if it's windy, it's basically just going to go straight. So just throw it hard, flat, maybe touch a hyzer, it's just going to end up going pretty much straight. The range, if I throw it hard and flat, if I give it about mid-range power, it's not just gonna go straight. If I hit it hard and flat, it's going to give me a slight little turnover. It's gonna give me almost a proxy or a watt style flight, but still going putter distance, because that lack of dome just means that it doesn't have quite as much glide to help it get there. So we're gonna try to throw a turnover here. This wind is gonna make it interesting. So we will go rhino first. We'll go straight rhino. Okay. Should have done this one as the wind test. At the end of the flight, goes out and then sits down. It actually came back a little bit. Now, the Castoplast Berg. A little bit less Anheuser, but it just kind of panned out. It never really had the ability to come back, and if it did, it would have been from a weird gust of wind coming from this right side. Now, for the range, which I can basically throw flat as long as I'm crisp with the spin, hitting the spin and having a clean throw, should get a little turnover. Yeah, wind's stabling it out. But you can see the different angles of release to get this same shot. It's just that two of those angles of release I'm much more comfortable at, and one of those angles of release I have a really hard time hitting. And that angle of release is the angle of release of the Berg. So most people seem to fall in the realm of they love the range, or they love the Berg, or they love both. There are very few people who throw all three, because if you throw the rhino, at some point it will turn into all three of those. So why don't we go with old reliable, old faithful, what's been working for the last 27 years, and throw rhinos? Why are we still trying to make Bergs and ranges? Don't get me wrong, the range is a great disc. I do bag a range. It's just that when that pink rhino finally beats into the right point, I'm going to have a really hard time finding a spot for a range when the rhino does the same shots. And what most people seem to forget when they're like, oh, Berg, 10 years ago, when the founder, or when the creator of the Berg made the Berg, when they finally got it where they wanted it, they took a lot of time to get there, because he used to throw rhinos and he wanted to make a straighter rhino. And the first couple of production, or the first couple of test runs of the Berg were so overstable, they're like, this is just a rhino. Which is why it took them so long to get to the Berg. But just throw a rhino. It's old reliable. It's worked for 27 years and it's still working. So why are we trying to change? Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel, essentially? We're gonna try to throw a backhand turn over here. We're gonna go stable rhino first and try to be a little more aggressive on this angle, bro. It's aggressive on the angle, a little bit too aggressive. Hopefully that doesn't, the same thing does not happen with this Berg. It's just straight. I do that exact same thing with the range. And I parked it. So, do you see where I'm coming from? The Berg isn't quite stable enough to be the stable approach disc I want, and it's not quite understable enough to be the understable one, and it just fits in between perfection. It's like the uncanny valley. You look at it for too long and you start to almost imagine that it's the right choice until you find a rhino again. So hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from with all this. Hopefully you guys enjoy content like this as well. And if so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all of that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And until next time, see you out on the course.